All right, welcome to the January 27th board meeting of the AMSA Board of Trustees. And it is 6 p.m. and we'll get started calling the meeting to order. This meeting is recorded and is live streaming on YouTube. Check the AMSA webpage or your email for more information. Next up, I'd like Sarah to please announce the board members in attendance.
All right. Ooh. Okay, did Bella come in? I don't see her. Okay, it's Benjamin Hamill, Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer, Kristen Carney, Liz Saul, Maura Webster, Nick Poirier, Raul Porras, Roger Jarrett, Sheila Kelly, Salmini Sampath, and Zachary Oglesby.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Next up, I'd like to seek a board member to keep us on time and schedule. So who would like to volunteer for our timekeeper for tonight?
I can do that.
Zach, thank you. Next up, public comment. Is there anyone wishing to speak in public comment? Liz, did you have any requests?
No, I just checked. No one had reached out.
Last call for public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on. Okay. So next up is the voting section of the meeting. We have the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda for approval are, well, looking up the agenda is slightly wrong because it has the minutes from, well, no, November 18th was the last time we met, wasn't it? Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll just do it. Normally I was expecting that the approval of the minutes would be part of the consent agenda, but we didn't write it that way. So we will take a motion to approve the minutes from the November 18th meeting.
So moved to Sheila.
Second.
Second, Sheila, second by Raul. Any discussion? No discussion. Sarah, please call the roll.
Ben Hamill,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Maura Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
Yes.
Raul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
Zachary Oglesby.
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. For our consent agenda, currently we have 3 items on it, which is the school calendar, the procurement policy. The governance committee report is not a vote item. I would like to pull out the procurement policy and not make that part of the consent agenda. So the one item on the consent agenda is the 22-23 school calendar. Any discussion on the calendar? No discussion. I'll take a vote to approve the one remaining consent agenda item, which is the 22-23 school calendar.
Move to approve. It's Dawn.
Second.
Second, Liz.
Wait a minute now. Getting to here. Okay. Voting member seconded by. Okay. Oh, Ben Hamill,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Maura Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
Yes.
Raul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
and Zachary Oglesby. That's everyone.
Yes.
All right. School calendar is approved. Next up is the vote to approve changes to our procurement policy. And this is an item that has been approved by finance. Kristen or Ellen, did you want to talk to this?
Roger, I was not aware that that was an item for me to discuss tonight.
I
That was
apologize.
Kristen.
Yeah, I can.
Sure.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was already started.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this policy was approved last year, and this actually adds some clarification to some of the additional approvals. Primarily, the approvals around what the executive director can approve, and then how the finance committee and the board weighs in. So I'm just going to read them from the policy because it's pretty clear, and I think that that will be easiest for everyone rather than me paraphrasing. So the key changes: the executive director may approve unbudgeted items up to $20,000. The maximum total dollar amount the ED can approve is $100,000 per fiscal year, as long as the school can stay within the budget. The cumulative amount will be tracked throughout the year and reported to the finance committee. So what this is saying is that up to unbudgeted, up to $20,000, the ED has the approval from finance, and we're looking for it from the board to also approve those items up to $100,000 total. And that way we can be more efficient, and we obviously are going to track those, make sure they're in budget, and report them. The second item, the finance committee needs to approve purchases that are outside the annual operating budget with a total contract value in excess of $20,000 up to $100,000 per item. The maximum total dollar amount that the finance committee can approve is $300,000 per fiscal year, as long as the school can stay within the budget. The cumulative amount will be tracked again similarly, so that everybody knows how much we've approved outside of the budget, outside of the policy with everyone. In cases where there's an out-of-budget item that exceeds $100,000, the Board of Trustees will need to approve that contract. And so in the one event that there is a timing issue, we want to keep things moving, we're requesting that we have a policy authority to allow the treasurer to approve on behalf of the finance committee up to $15,000 per contract, but no more than $100,000 in a year, so that we can keep those things moving. So we've had cases in the past where we needed an urgent approval and we couldn't get a public meeting in place. I think we did this once last year. And this allows the treasurer to make that approval, but then report back to the board with that as well. So we're looking for approval of this clarified policy. It's really basically the same as the one we had before. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take those now.
Any questions?
I will just add that I think this was prompted, well, first of all, we needed it to be more clear on what we could do and how many times a year we could do it. But I think we're thinking with the building project coming up, that things may pop up.
Yes, exactly what I was going to make. That part of this procurement policy is designed to give Ellen and the finance committee the means to keep the building project moving forward, so we don't have to come to the board with every surprise that we didn't expect. So I'll take a motion to approve the amended procurement policy.
Motion to approve.
Second, that's Maura.
Second from Maura. Motion by Ben. Sarah, please call the roll.
It was the motion by Ben and approved by Maura.
Yes.
All messed up here. Okay, we'll go down this again. All right. Ben Hamill,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Mara Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier. Nick? Nick?
He's
Okay,
on mute.
I can see him. Okay.
I said yes.
Raul?
Yes.
Roger Jarrett?
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
and Zachary Oldesby.
Yes.
Is everyone?
Motion passes unanimously. That wraps up our vote section of the meeting. Next up, we have reports, starting with Ellen, Executive Director report. The floor is yours, Ellen.
All righty, thank you very much. While I am pulling this up to share my screen with you, I will say there's some very dense slides here, so I am going to try to move through this as quickly as I can. And we'll have questions at the end. All righty, so here is our report. Here we are, January 27th. Kind of hard to believe, but okay. All right, so here's an overview of the report. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID testing and the latest program that we've adopted from the state. Very quick update from Peter Prue about the DEI work, the diversity, equity, inclusion work that he's been doing. We finally do have in the state rankings for the SAT and the AP, and I'll be sharing those with you as well, keeping in mind you know, what we've all been through for the last couple of years. I actually think you're going to be surprised because it really didn't change a lot except in one area. We're going to have a building update, and this building update, I'm going to caution you on a slide later on, is really just pretend we're just dreaming, and we're hoping, because I don't have any numbers to go along with the hopes and dreams, and we know that it's really about usability of the building and the investment, but it really, we're constrained by numbers, so keeping that in mind. A little bit of razzle dazzle time and upcoming events. Okay, so those of you who are parents received some emails this week about the testing program. So the state has shifted the testing program. They are able to acquire 26 million at-home tests, and these are the same brand tests that we use. They're called iHealth, that we used actually right when we got back from the holidays. And so we are going to move to the new state-sponsored at-home testing program. The teachers just received their first test packets, and we're asking all staff and students to test on Wednesdays. And that is so that if someone does come back positive, we have the weekend to work in there for, you know, time that they may need for quarantining. The tests were ordered through the state, and there's no cost to the school directly. The test kits are distributed every 2 weeks through school, at school. One test kit equals 2 tests, and then everyone will test every 2 weeks. There are still symptomatic testing that is available to the nurse's office. So even if you test on a Wednesday and you're negative, but all of a sudden on Friday you don't feel well, you go down to the nurse's office, whether you're staff or whether you're a student, and you say, I don't feel well, and they will continue to do the symptomatic testing. But we must opt into this program. And this is actually a live link, so in case anyone sees this and they want to opt their child in, or if it's a staff member and they want to use this to opt themselves in, they can. At the moment, the opt-in actually is closed. It closed this morning because we're processing, we have to order the test kits for the students. So for this week, for this first 2 weeks, I ordered 1 test kit for every member of staff. And then they also have an opt-in process as well. And whoever opts in will then get tests. We will order them tests for the next 2 weeks. With the students, the state delayed them 1 week just so we could get started with the staff, the adults. And then they will, we've got our numbers there. We will order their tests, and then we will open up the opt-in again so that if there's someone who decides either they missed it or they decide they wanted to participate, they can. Anyone who's positive needs to reach out to Maureen Searle. And all of this came out to everyone in an email. So this, because we're adding this program in, and think about it this way, on a typical day, Maureen and the nurses do about 30 to 50 tests a day. The very highest number of tests they did was 70 right after the holidays, but it's much lower than that. So if we say on average 30 tests a day, 5 days a week, she's processing about 150 tests. this could allow us to test up to 1,000 people a week. Now, it's true that we may find more people positive who are non-symptomatic, asymptomatic, and yet those asymptomatic folks could pass it along to someone else who may pass it along to somebody who's very vulnerable. So we do want to find those who may be carrying COVID asymptomatically, but we are not following negative tests anymore. It's just purely if you're positive. We have had amazing support from our families with subbing. We've hired actually a couple couple parents for long-term subs. So they've been great, and they certainly have added to our staff of substitutes. So I've had multiple conversations with the Marlborough Board of Health, the director down there. Marlborough's no longer actually doing contact tracing. We're finding that a lot of the positive cases, as far as the school is concerned, they're happening in carpooling, possibly, outside lunch, wherever the kids are, and less so much in the classroom. So this is what we're going to. I think it gives us a lot wider range of folks who are actually getting tested every week. And then once again, if you're not feeling well, you can go right down to the nurse's office and they will continue to do symptomatic testing as well. These next few slides were put together by Peter Prue, our DEI coordinator. And this is our first update. I've promised you an update each quarter, so this is our first one. And then in February, Peter's actually going to join our board meeting in February, and he will be providing some information for you on a student survey that we did. I'm going to have a couple little tidbits for you tonight, but he'll be coming and giving you a full report at the board meeting in February. So Roger, maybe you could add him onto the agenda for February. So this is what the team has been working on so far, led by Peter Prue, and also with the work of Anders Lewis. So we did a student survey, and Padmaja Bandaru has been a huge help to us. We put together a student survey. It was completed by 881 students, and it was completed through students' computer science department. And we really felt that we wanted to get as wide range of students and everyone if we could, but certainly as many as we could to complete this survey. So we had a real broad picture throughout the school of how students are feeling. They will be starting to work on the self-assessment tool. He'll be putting together a group of stakeholders, and they'll be working on that from February to April. He's also going to be working with Mike Finkel and have the AMSA DEI webpage set up by April of 2022. And then we had talked about also creating a statement that shares our commitment and determination to incorporate DEI values into our core values that the school has already adopted. And that's the work that Peter will be doing this year, and he will be updating you in February. But just a couple of noteworthy points from the student survey. As I mentioned, there was 881 students that participated in grades 6 through 12. They did a great job on these questions. It's very, very interesting, the results. Overall positive, but there's definitely some areas that we can work on. So 88% of those students, 881 students, said that they feel valued in the AMSA classroom. Love to see that. Want to see that at 100% for sure. But 88% was a great place to start, we thought. 87% of our students say that they have close friends of different races, ethnicities, or cultures. Once again, love to see that even higher, but felt that was a very strong place to start. And 80% of students feel comfortable talking about racial, cultural, or ethnic issues with teachers. There's a connection here between this number, this 80% number, and the next slide. We asked the question on, do you have a trusted adult, someone you feel comfortable sharing your concerns with or your interests with, basically an adult on campus that you feel connected to? They would be a support go-to person for you should you want to reach out or if you needed someone. 80% said that they did, but 20% said that they did not feel that they had an adult that they had a relationship with on campus. And although the 80% it once again is someplace to start. Certainly, we would love to see this answer right up there at 100%. All of our students should feel that they have at least one adult in the school that they feel they can reach out to and they feel comfortable with. So that's an area that we want to improve, and where Peter will be working on that. And identifying who are these students. So there's ways to do that, and also helping to determine how to best engage some of these students who may not feel as part of the community as we would like them to feel. So once again, Peter Prue, our DEI coordinator, and he will be coming to present that survey to you and answer any questions that you have in February. All right, so now we're talking about our rankings, and this is from the Department of Education website. You can see the link on the very bottom if you want to take a look. I tried to fit in the last 3 years, and just so you could kind of have a comparison, and I'll think of a different way to do this next year to add the next year of data in. But if you look, you can see, so when you, on the yellow at the top, versus 185 SAT exams were taken like in 2018-19. Then we know we had COVID, and most of those exams were shut down the spring of 2020. And so it dipped way down to 106. We bumped, back up to 164. But obviously, love to get those numbers higher. And it also depends upon the numbers of how many juniors and seniors we have, because most of these students are taking the exam the second semester of their junior year, starting at the January through June. So so those are the numbers of the test. It was nice to see that we bounced back there a little bit coming back to school this year. So we're looking at, there's two sections of the SAT, the reading and writing section, the math section. And then I have our average scores, 19, 20, and 21. And then you can see the state ranking on the far side. So interesting. So I think what I'm seeing here is that other schools may be gaining on us a little bit, and we need to, it maybe leveled a little bit during COVID, and we need to work on that. But when you look at the reading and writing, 19, 20, and 21, you see really the scores are statistically, within range. But our 2021 scores were actually up just a wee bit, but then the state ranking overall is down a bit to 14. So I think what that's showing is that other schools are doing better. Their scores are getting closer to ours, and so we need to obviously continue to dig in as we recover from the last couple of years. And math, once again, where our score is down a little bit, and the state ranking went from 4th 2 years in a row to 9th. And I think from really what we've heard across the board, math was difficult to teach online. I think that the value of a teacher answering questions, putting problems up on the board, students putting problems up on the board, getting feedback right away, having a child be able to say to a teacher, "Can you take a look at this problem with me?" I think it shows the value of that. And our students missed out on that. In 2020, they learned in the classroom, all the way up until mid-March. And they were out of school and learning math online and learning English online for a good chunk of the year. So I'll be interested to see what these scores look like next year, where we've had a full year in school. Although it's been a stressful year for all of us. So. And I'll be happy to take questions on that at the end. Once again, you will have access to these slides. Sarah is going to be putting them on board on track. So if you want to spend some more time taking a look at this and following up with me afterwards, happy to do it that way too. So AP. Now AP is interesting, and for those of you who are new on the board, so there's the College Board actually puts out reports. They put out their data, and that's what you're seeing in this middle column here. Then the state creates their own numbers, their own percentages, and their own rankings. But the state doesn't consider any tests that we had 10 or fewer students take. So there's always a difference, because some of our highest scores come from classes that have potentially a lower number of students taking it. So if you have an upper level math class, or you have, like an AP art class, our AP art was a perfect 5 this year, but there was only a couple kids in that took that particular test, so they don't count it. So the numbers are different, and that's where the different percentages come in. So I want you to see, this is the official, what College Board says, that we did 505 tests this year, that 88% of our students scored a 3 or better, and that when I take that number, that 88%, and I put it into the state spreadsheet, it puts us at 13th place. And that's what I've done each of these years when you look at that middle column. So actually, if you look at our College Board scores, and that includes all the exams that we gave at AMSA, not other schools that are doing different tests that we don't do, but apples to apples is that middle column, official College Board. That's that. When you go over to the far right column, this is the Massachusetts. And once again, there's always a little bit of a discrepancy on the number of tests. I'm not sure why. And then the percentages are also different on the +3+ because they don't include some of our exams. And then I take the 80% and look at that on the state ranking spreadsheet, which you have a link to on the bottom, and it puts us at 28th place in the state ranking. So the AP looks great to me in 2021. They're actually a little bit stronger than the SAT results. Not that you can really compare their apples and oranges, different exams, different purposes. But overall, honestly, for 3/4 of a year on remote learning, I thought this was pretty impressive. Very proud of our kids, and certainly proud of our AP teachers who put so much into everything that they do. Okay, building update. It's been a long time since we've talked, so I'm going to run through this. And remember, this is more of a dream conversation, and just to keep you up to date with where we are in the process. So we are making tremendous progress, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of it. We have assembled an amazing team of people who are working on this, and we're continuing right now to the design phase. They're heading into we've done the coding work on the 165 building, and they're starting to plan the permitting through the city of Marlborough. And Liana and Eric and myself, we meet with the architects, the owner project manager, the project consultant, which is Bob Baldwin, you all know Bob, and with a whole team of people. Sometimes it's up to 15 or 18 people on these calls, and they all have various responsibilities, whether it's HVAC or whether it's the landscaping or whatever it is. We've also been actively consulting with Pete Jones, the athletic director on the gymnasium. Jenna's been on maternity leave, but she's been assisting us as well. And Christy J, our science department chair. And we have several teachers also that we've been talking with. I've also consulted with the scheduling vendors so that they kind of have an idea of what we're looking at. And then tomorrow afternoon, there's a group of us that are getting together, including Christy and a few of her teachers, with the architects to talk about part of the project. Then we will be interviewing the construction managers. The list is down to 3. We'll be doing that in mid-February with the task force and with the team mentioned above, the architects, owner's project manager, and Bob Baldwin. So we expect to have the plans and the cost projections for your board meeting in March for a vote. So the estimates are due to finance for March 14th was the projected date that I received today. And then we will go through all of those estimates, and then the project itself will go to a board vote on March 24th. That's what they're telling me now. I have seen that this has shifted. Some of the estimates we were hoping to have in January. So you can see that there are some shifts, and it's possible that we may have some more, but that's what we're looking at right now. Okay, next page. Come on. There we go. Okay, so just keeping it real, and want to make sure that we all know that the next slides are hopes and dreams. We do not have cost estimates, and therefore we do not know how much of this we can afford now or even 5 years from now. We're excited, but we're also managing our expectations. So consider this a fun exercise only, because this is all subject to change depending upon the costs associated with each one of these really fun and cool ideas. Anything that's too costly for phase 1 that we continue to want to do, we'll move to phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4. And just a reminder, fundraising is needed. So if you have any contacts, please get a hold of us. We're not going to talk about the capital campaign tonight, but we will talk about that more in February, March, and every month the next 2 years. So in other words, don't hold me to any of these photos that you're going to see. This is cool stuff, but we have to be careful because it's all comes down to money. All right, so isn't this picture wonderful? I hope you have your screens big enough that you can see this, because when I see this little map of our campus and the ideas that the landscape architects have and the engineers have come up with, it just makes me feel so excited inside. You can see where the proposed gym is. Well, first of all, you got to kind of position yourself what you're looking at. 201, that's where my office is. When you look to the right of that, that's the 165 building, that's the white building. And then you can see straight ahead the 199 building. So kind of orient yourself. If you come up on campus, you come up through the bottom left-hand side and you come in, you pat, 4 Kicks is to your left, the school's to your right. You go in and then you would actually drive right now through the proposed gym area. That's where we're talking about. That is a very, very nice flat area. The electrical, the utilities, the water lines, they all actually run up between the proposed building, gym site, and the 165 building. So it misses all of those things as well. So it was we looked at cost, we looked at, where it would look great, where it fits. We looked at many different, and where it was going to have the lowest impact on parking, right? Because parking is at a premium. And so that's where we ended up placing the gym. And once again, it really came down to cost. That's a nice flat area there. There is a hill. They can work with the grading, but it was going to be the least complicated place without losing the parking. So that's where the proposed gym is going to go. I do have a picture coming up on the next slide of what that might look like inside. But if we talk about the 3rd floor of the 165 building, which we've always talked about is really our first priority, right? Because we are a school and academics is what we do. We've decided to make this 3rd floor a science wing. There's a lot of reasons for that. And some of it, honestly, is around fundraising and what we think we can raise money for. We need the new science labs to be part of phase 1. They need to be part of phase 1 because our science labs, right now, for those of you who don't know, we have 1 chemistry lab. 1 chemistry lab. The rest of our science is done in regular classrooms with maybe some lab tables. But our teachers do an absolutely amazing job with 1 chemistry lab. We have 2 chemistry teachers. One is in the lab, the other one's not in the lab, and she has to make arrangements to go into the lab when she wants to use the lab. So there isn't even equity there between those 2 chemistry teachers. I believe that our math program it's a cornerstone in the state. There's no one that's going to dispute that we have one of the best math programs in the whole state. But our science program needs an investment, and it needs an investment in labs so that your students can get into laboratories younger and more often, chemistry laboratories, biology laboratories, and physics labs. We've never had physics labs. Our kids go outside and throw balls. They throw balls and they throw all kinds of things down the open foyer in the 199 building. We're going to be able to provide them real physics labs, and they're going to be about 1,200 square feet a piece. So what this 3rd floor now will be, and I think it's going to be a real attraction for corporate donors, there'll be 2 brand new chemistry labs there. There'll be 2 physics labs. There's going to be 1 new biology lab. The existing chemistry lab will turn into a 2nd biology lab. The research labs will stay in the upper school building, and there'll be 2 additional classrooms also on the 3rd floor. And there's going to be prep rooms between each one of these laboratories. There's going to be storage up there. There's going to be a collaborative workspace out in the middle where students can work on projects and things together. It's super exciting. It is still being tweaked in the photos, but we're really, really excited about this. And that's the conversation we're going to have with Christy, some of her teachers, and the architects tomorrow about what does it take and what does it look like to fit out these labs. And then hope that we will find companies that will want to sponsor these labs and complete them for our students. State of the art. It's going to be awesome. And our kids deserve it. And this is the best use of this floor. I really believe that. And we're very excited about it. And we're also, part of phase 1 is also these structural and code upgrades. You know, we need in 165. The 4th floor of 165 is not going to be able to support classrooms. We know that now. If we have enough money, we would put those 4th floors, half of that would be built out as office spaces, and all of us district staff will move up there. We've got about 11 folks that we would move up there. And then the other half of that area would be used as storage, probably a lot of science storage up there as well. And then, of course, phase 1, we want, if we can, to do as much of that gymnasium as we can possibly afford. And then when you look at this campus layout here, there's extended parking down by where you see the number 120. That adds a couple different rows of parking. It upgrades the bus routes. The traffic would be, the traffic pattern that we've talked about would change. Instead of coming in by 4 Kicks, you're going to come in by the 165 building, coming up and then looping, coming up here and then looping all the way through the back here and then back down again. It includes a retaining wall that we need back here. And then this campus center, now that this building is here, this is really going to turn into a quad. It's going to have a beautiful feel of trees and green space and paths for the students to walk. Right here in the middle is another opportunity for fundraising. This would be a 200-person outdoor amphitheater. Eventually, someday, you could put a roof on it if you want. We won't be able to afford that at the beginning, but we will be selling pavers to individuals, families, companies to help support the cost of this area here. And we have like a little rotary that you can walk around to get to the other buildings. The student feedback that we got when we surveyed some of the students was, we want green space. We want a feeling of relaxation walking around campus, and that we have kind of a place to kind of veg out. We also, fundraising opportunities would be to sell trees, right? Put a little family plaque on the tree. People can sponsor trees to help pay for that as well. Let's see. Also, this is going to improve safety because the students aren't going to be walking up here and cars driving past them. And then the visitor entrance would be, visitor parking is over here. So you could come, there's 14 parking spaces here, and so folks can still come in to Kathy and Sandy and pick up their kids. Super exciting. We know, though, that, let me see what my next, so just on that, before we take a look at this slide, we do know that many of those things won't end up being part of phase 1. Things are very, very expensive. Construction is very expensive right now. And so anything that we can't afford or we decide to put off out of phase 1 will end up in phase 2. And that's one of the reasons why I think it was so important to move those science labs onto that floor, because we need that to be part of phase 1. And that also opens up a lot of classrooms over in the upper school building, which is going to help everyone else to spread out as well. All right, so when we talk about the inside of the gymnasium, this has been tweaked about, I can't even put a number on it. This is the latest one that I saw this week, and you'll see that the photo here is not great, because this is actually a photo I took of the screen, so that I could kind of show you what we're talking about. But so this is 2 high school size official basketball courts, and they would be practice courts, and there'd be a screen that would go down the middle here. but they would be practice, and you'd have to, these are bleachers up here, and the bleachers would have to be obviously pushed back. When we have an official game, it would be, we'd flip it around, and so you'd use the one court here, and these bleachers would open up. These bleachers would hold 500 people. This is big. And the reason that we targeted that number at this point is because we need, in order to be able to host games for the MIAA and for the conference, we need to be able to see 500 people. We have storage here. It's very difficult to see here, but you're actually coming in kind of on the second floor. You have to take these stairs to get down and come in here. There's storage underneath. There would be storage above. So you're coming in because of the difference in the grade. For those of you who've been on campus recently, you remember that there's, by the nurse's office, there's a hill there. And so you're actually coming in on the second floor, coming down to the bottom, where you'd then come out onto the courts, and then the restrooms are here and all, and storage. Then there's more storage you can walk up to, kind of on this mezzanine storage level here as well. Now, some of you may say, "Oh my goodness, where are the locker rooms? All we've ever wanted was locker rooms." Well, we cannot afford locker rooms. And so any locker rooms that are added on in the future, they would be space, as you can see from the picture I showed you before. But that would have to probably be more in a phase 3. What I told them, asked them to focus on was, let's get the biggest gym we can. That is enough for all of our students to take phys ed. It's enough for our games that Pete needs for athletics. And that this is space also that eventually could be rented out to the community. And let's focus on that. And eventually we would have to, maybe the Boosters Club could raise money to do lockers later on. All right, so phase 2 will include anything that gets bumped from phase 1. As I mentioned, if we don't have enough money, then we're gonna have to cut out those office spaces, moving up to the top floor, which changes other things within the lower school building. The center campus may not get completed in phase 1, but that's something that can be completed over time, especially with fundraising. The amphitheater obviously may get pushed. The trees, the paths, the bathrooms in 201. I know we've always talked about the bathrooms as being kind of low-hanging fruit, and I agree, but if we need $400,000 to finish off something in the labs or finish off something in the gymnasium, we may decide, or we may not decide to put those off as into phase 2. And then we're going to probably, other than the new HVAC, which will be going up on the 3rd and the 4th floor in the 165 building, some of the other upgrades will need to, unless there's an emergency, will need to be kind of patched and until we can get the money to do that as well. Okay, a little bit of razzle dazzle, and this has been long, so I'm not going to play you any of the videos, but we can just talk about this really quickly. So this past week, last week, we didn't have the big arts night we usually do because of COVID and all, but they did a really great job. Jess Bowen with the chorus and Ed Harlow with the band. This picture is actually half the band. This is the older kids, the more advanced kids. They played a few songs as well with the beginners as well, and it was wonderful. Those of us at home got to listen to it on Zoom, and only the students themselves and their immediate families were allowed to be there in person. They did a super job. If you want to go back and listen to it, you should. Oh shoot! Sorry. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. And how do I get out of that? Okay. All right, and then this was also wonderful. They did the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They did it at the First Church in Marlborough. Once again, I had an opportunity to go through. They're such talented kids. They were just, they were fantastic. There's a little video there as well. And this is our varsity indoor track meet. This was from December 21st, and they had their, they met at Marlborough High School, and see these kids did a fantastic job. And then we're so proud of Rachel Bibbio who has committed to her continue with track and field. I believe she does the triple jump, but she's going to be participating in track and field. She signed with Division I Brown University, and we had a signing ceremony for her on January 6th. Pete Jones always does such a great job with these signing ceremonies. We couldn't be more proud of Rachel. The Bibio family has been, she's our fourth Bibio. And I had 3 of the kids myself as school counseling and got to know them. Just such a great family. And she is so awesome. She's the baby. So the end of the reign of the Bibios has arrived, unfortunately. They're a wonderful, wonderful family. And we congratulate Rachel and her family. Upcoming events. We have January 28th. I am going along with Mike Naraki and Anders and Peter Prue. We're going to visit all the elementary schools in Marlborough. So interesting how this all played out and how it all came together, but we're super excited. We're going to be visiting all 4 of the elementary schools tomorrow. And we're going to give them a little song and dance about what AMSA is as part of our recruitment efforts and diversity. And then we are going to do we've sent an invitation to all of the 5th grade families in Marlborough to their own special information session. And we're going to do that virtually, the whole group of us at 5 p.m. We're going to have our ELL director there, Lynn Jarvis, our special education director, Anders, myself, and Mike. And so we're looking forward to that. We have translators that are going to be participating in both of those events. We have a family forum coming up, virtual event at 6 p.m. on February 2nd, all next week. There's an arts night. So typically we have 2 arts nights a year. Since we had an abbreviated one in January, we're going to have a full arts night on May 25th. And that will also be a research science night. They're going to combine those. Love to have you add that into your calendar. We love having the board there. And we will also be using that event as a capital campaign opportunity to bring donors and companies in to see what our kids can do, because it's absolutely amazing. So put that in your calendars. And just looking ahead, we've got our AMSA class of 22 graduation. It will be outside at 4 Kicks again. And that will be on the evening of June 10th, time to come. And then I just added on here just as a conversation piece that we have to be determined for our strategic planning meeting, which we had canceled for this month. And then just once again, wishing you all a happy 2022. We're really hoping that this year is a little bit different than what we've had for the last couple of years. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry, Zach, I ran over. I didn't see that till the end. Is there anything that anyone would like me to share or questions? I'm not sure how to.
Well, questions for Ellen?
Can I go to Roger? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, fantastic update. I really appreciated how cleanly and clearly you laid out the update on the buildings and the design and the plans. Very excited to see that. I think this has been a long time coming for the AMSA community. I'm very familiar with the road patterns, having sent through 2 kids through there, and it's so exciting to see what you're planning, and looking forward to supporting you as you go through this process. Yes, fingers crossed. My question actually is about a completely different topic. It's about the SAT. And I'm wondering how you and guidance are thinking about how many colleges are making it test optional, and how our students are thinking their way through their strategy about taking the SAT, and any thoughts you have about the future of the exam and how we're guiding our students.
Well, actually, you know, we've got an absolutely fantastic school counseling office, and the college counselors work very closely with the parents and with the students, and under Kate Driver's leadership, I'm sure they will point our students in the right direction with the research that they have. Honestly, Salmini, that's not something I get directly involved with at the moment anymore. I certainly had my fingers in all of that not that long ago, but that's not my focus. And I've left that. Mike Naraki and our vice principal, Amanda Sensei, have become, the replacement dynamic duo for Anders and I, and they really are doing an amazing job. Running the school, running the day-to-day operations of the school. I couldn't be more pleased with the two of them and the work that they're doing together. And with their team, and Kate Driver actually works directly for Mike, and then under Anders as well. So that's kind of where that is. It's not my primary focus at the moment, I'm sorry. But I can connect you with Kate Driver if you'd like more information.
Sure.
Think given the shift and the change, it might be worthwhile to put it on a future agenda and allow them to prepare something for the board, because they are coming out with obviously some new guidance, having gone through this year. So it probably would be helpful to hear what's going on.
Sure. Would you like that in February or March or?
I would say when they have time. Also, given that they've just changed the guidance around how the exams are going to be in 2024, I guess is when it's starting. It may make sense just to wait until they have time to sort of, digest all of that.
How about April as a candidate date? Because we got February is too soon. I share Liz's opinion on that. And March is going to be the building finance. So how about April?
That sounds great. I will let
as a target, and we'll look to your feedback. We can move it around from there. But April or later, April, May.
Sure. Definitely. I can tell you that we're running SAT prep classes. I can tell you that much. But boy, I wish I was still thinking a lot about all of those school counseling topics, but they're far away from me now.
You've got some really big things that you're working on. So I think you've got a great staff as you demonstrated, take care of the SATs in good hands. But we look forward.
Kate's been with us for a long time now. I could not think more of her and her work and her team.
Look forward to more information in the future board meeting.
You'll do that.
Thank you, Samini, for the question. Other questions for Ellen?
I actually have a question on the building project that I know has been on some teachers' minds. Do we know at all how much this is going to help alleviate teachers having to share classrooms and jump around rooms?
I met actually Zach. So Zach, I'm updating the staff. I'm going to do this plus probably a little bit, more detailed information on Tuesday afternoon when we have our all staff meeting. So I met, what day is today? Early this week or the end of last week, with the scheduling team, and giving them that task right there is just, what kind of impact is this? Is it big enough? And they seemed very impressed and very happy with what they're going to have to work with. But does that mean that teachers are going to be able to all have their own classroom? No. I honestly don't think that would ever happen until we had a whole nother building. And a whole nother academic building. Because think about there's 85, 88 teachers, something like that. You would need 44 more rooms for everyone to have their own room, right? And that's not happening right now. We will definitely have a lot more room in the upper school building, which will relieve some pressure off of the lower school building as things start to shift around. But I'm waiting for the experts, because Joe Bengiovanni and Brian Bakla are definitely our scheduling experts. So they have the plans and they're thinking it through. But, I told them it's a year and a half, right? So we're looking at hopefully September of 23. So they have a year and a half to figure out what it will actually mean for us.
Okay. Other questions? All right, hearing no other questions, we'll move onward. Again, thank you, Ellen, for the great presentation. And I'm sure that if board members have specific questions, that they may reach out and contact you with those.
Definitely, definitely, absolutely happy to go over anything with you that you're interested in knowing.
Fantastic. All right, and I may have a note for future April, May meeting for an update from the counseling department on SATs. I've recorded that. All right, so we are through with the executive director report. Parent rep, Bella.
I
Hi,
don't think
everyone. I guess just to respond a little bit to Somini, I am a mother of a junior, and I get emails from Kate Driver like once a week, and she's really informing the entire grade and all the parents about all these resources. And we've listened to lots of sessions about how lots of schools are, waiving the SAT or, SAT optional. So there's a lot of information is being fed to the students, and I think they're doing the best they can because things are changing constantly. Okay, so I do have some parent feedback. I think I complained to Mike Finkel, like no one's reaching out to me. So he actually did another call out this morning. And I did get some feedback from some parents. So I think maybe just I'll work with Mike to remind parents to, I'm here. If you have anything, let me know. And so I guess the first thing, and this is, a few parents have actually responded to this topic. It's really about, and we all know there's a staffing shortage, and there's, a lot of substitute teachers right now. I think my son has one, and there's, some disruption in the curriculum. And I think there's some concern about, are the students, up to speed? Are they at the level they should be? Because there is that disruption, and is the administration doing anything to ensure that the students are getting the best out of the curriculum, or the most value out of the curriculum right now? So I guess that's a question back to Ellen and the rest of the administration. I don't know if you want to answer that now or.
Yes. So things happen, and people's lives change, and it's a crazy time. And we definitely have had three staff changes, unexpected, and so you do the best you can to fill the gaps when you have them. We have finally secured the last long-term sub that we need. And so we finally have that stabilized. I have seen Padmaja and Luba and Christy doing backbends to try to find people to fill these positions. And we think we have good qualified people in there now. What's complicated about some of these things is that some of these folks are coming back, right? Are the kids getting everything that they can get out of the curriculum? Once again, I've watched, especially Padmaja, really running circles, trying to make this all work. And it's challenging. And what I will say is that though what saved us in this situation were our parents. Right? They were our parents. We have a math teacher who's Chris Houle, who has 2 kids in the school. The kids love Chris, and they're very, very happy to have him. We're grateful to have Chris. He jumped in when we called out and said we need subs. And Chris said, I'm coming in and I'm subbing. And then when this happened with Victoria, had to resign, then he jumped in. And he's doing a great job. He taught math for a number of years in Clinton. And Patrick Snow has just started in at computer science in middle school. Once again, great background, fantastic. Retired from Dell. He's got an older daughter at our school. That's another parent who saw the call when we yelled, we need help, and had the expertise and came in. right? So we're really, really grateful for what we've been able to do, but it was a scramble. And, you know, we've been saying all along since COVID happened, it's going to take us a couple years to recover. And that was when we thought that we were coming into a normal school year this year. And finally, we found ourselves in November and the numbers are going up again. And we're like, holy moly, this isn't normal. And we all we're still trying to pretend that it was normal, but it wasn't normal. We're still managing through a pandemic. And so, no, we've got work to do. We've got work to catch up on. And I have to give a shout out to my staff and my administrative team for what they've had to do to scramble to get the kids the best that they possibly can get. But I will also say we're in darn good shape, comparatively speaking. So.
Great, thank you. The second topic is really, this parent had just requested that English and history teachers kind of announce a trigger warning before they start teaching material that may contain references to suicide. I think this is just, you know, it's a sensitive topic, and you know, our community has been, you know, exposed to that, and I think this parent just, you know, just passed that along.
Yes, we got that feedback actually after the summer, and I think what happened there, and Marty was involved. She's the English department chair with that, and we've you know, Anders was involved obviously in that conversation as well. That there were a couple books over the summer when it's typical summer reading, right? So it's what's read every summer, but it meant different things to us this summer, Bella. So you're absolutely right. But lots of conversations around that when we got the feedback back in end of August, September when we came back. But thank you, yes, and we're having there'll be more context put around things and sensitivity in that area for sure.
Yeah. This third comment is really, and I think it's more geared towards the middle school, but where students are still new, and a lot of students just had joined during the COVID time. So really hard to meet other children and, you know, form a community of their own. So this parent was just wondering if there's a way to encourage students from the same town to be able to identify each other and meet each other, and had a bunch of ideas. And so, Ellen, I think I'll just send you an email with some of these ideas, or even forward that email along.
Yeah, you can forward it along to me, and I'll send it along to someone on the
maybe I'll send it to Mike. I could send it to Mike.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And then finally, you know, so a lot of great comments of just like, thank you to the administration, thank you to the board, everybody, and you know, for everyone's investment and hard work, and it's been appreciated.
Thank you, Bella. Our parents have stepped up in such amazing ways, and we really appreciate them. We would not have survived the last 3 months without them.
And that's it.
All right, questions for Bella? Yeah, thank you, Bella, for processing all that feedback and condensing it into a great report for the board. I think it's a valuable avenue for the parents to be able to provide that feedback to you and for the board. Zach, faculty report.
Okay.
Where's yours?
So, couple things tonight, most pretty minor things. The first one that I think Ellen covered really well in her report was just a comment on attempting in the building project not to reduce the overall green space on campus. I think we've checked that box remarkably well by instead increasing the green space on campus. The usual show of thank you for all the support the administration has given during a very difficult year, the support they always give to their staff. It is kind of an interesting double-sided here, because the main comment I have also comes from a lot of the staff about how the most recent COVID wave has been handled, which was, in many staff's opinions, not as well as it could have been. It was very chaotic for some of us, getting 5 to 7 COVID emails a day, keeping track of what students were on Zoom, not knowing when they were coming back, confusion about what is the expectation on Zoom, confusion in the community about what students were supposed to be getting if they were on Zoom, and some requests to centralize information or to make things more accessible that were not received as well as some of the staff would have hoped. Kind of leaving to a sense of, we really are happy that the administration is supporting us and we feel that. We do feel like this wave could have been handled better, and it led to a lot of stress and confusion amongst the staff that, you know, if, fingers crossed it doesn't, but were this to happen again, a more centralized piece of information or more clarity around certain things like student return dates or work expectations being sent out might have been beneficial, so that teachers were not scrambling to be, wait, when is that student coming back? When do I need to send this link out? Am I supposed to send the link out? You know, the student emailed me that they're sick, but I'm not sure. Are they really sick? I haven't gotten anything. Am I supposed to send the link? Things like that, causing a lot of confusion in amongst everything else that's going on. So it's kind of the two sides there. Beyond that, I haven't heard much, but that was the big thrust of not a lot, but a more than usual amount of frustration regarding that situation.
Yeah, it was rough. You know, I'm going to send a shout out to our 2.5 nurses who were working till 8 o'clock at night trying to process all of these emails about the COVID numbers were huge. And it was really rough to keep up with. And so once we figured out how tough it was, you know, we did do some things to help. Like we had parents that came in and helped test with 16 offers within minutes. We had Sarah started monitoring the telephones for the nurses. Kate Driver was actually the one that stepped forward and said that she would send all those emails. So what was happening was it was a central chart that was added to whenever she would process or someone would come in positive, right? And she was adding to that, and as that got added to during the day, Kate would batch them up and let teachers know who was going to be out and send them Zoom links. And so they were getting batched during the day. So that's why teachers were getting lists. Zach had mentioned when we talked this week about, you know, having a central list where you could kind of look in and see your kids. And I suppose there's probably a way to do that. But, you know, we're balancing these things between privacy and health related information and who's seeing what. And so we tried to respect that from all sides. But it was overwhelming for the nurses for sure, to try to track as much as they were doing. It was crazy. So yeah, they're absolutely right. And I'm sure we learned some lessons. And I just hope with everything that it doesn't ever happen again. But if it does, I think we certainly lived through it and could make some changes to it. I'd get them more help earlier, for sure. So part of that's on me.
Other questions for Zach? Thank you, Zach, for your report and good feedback. Anything that the board wishes to flag for discussion among the ED, parent, and faculty reports? Hearing none. Moving on to chair business. Thank you. First, thank you to Ellen and team and Bella and Zach for your reports. Chair business is relatively short. First, I'd like to announce, although Ellen has already done so, that AMSA is accepting incoming students via lottery applications up through February 4th. Please see the AMSA website for more details there. And the board strategic planning meeting is still in the scheduling. We're still going to be scheduling. Raul, Samini and I will be getting together to plan both the agenda, and then we'll come out with dates. Hope to have a announcement to the board looking for dates before the February board meeting. That is it for chair business. Any questions for me? On to committee reports. So if there are things that are already covered in your written report, you don't need to reiterate them, but highlights or particular discussion questions for the board are appreciated. Liz, education report.
Okay, so just a quick question. So we are going forward with the written reports. So we should plan on doing that for the future. Okay, we met late, unfortunately, so I don't think we would have made it in time anyway. But just in terms of our meeting this month, because I'm actually wrapping up as the chair on the Ed Committee, one thing that we did do this week that I will document for all of you is just sort of what we came up with as sort of our highlights of what the Ed Committee has been doing over the last 6 or 7 years, and really just as an opportunity to possibly continue some of that. First and foremost, I would say that having a student representative on the board, on the Ed Committee, has been extremely helpful. One new thing that we're also going to do this year, because of her recommendation, and she is now put together a project that she's working with Mr. Naraki on, is we're going to have a exit survey for seniors before they leave. So we're actually, the plan is to open it up sometime in April and then provide a report back to the school on what seniors had to say about their experience here at AMSA. And it would be something that would have the potential to run every year. And then we also discussed having that as a communication opportunity out to both the board. So hopefully we should have something together probably in the June timeframe, just to hear what our seniors had to say. And then also having a way to, and we'll work with Mr. Finkel on this, to provide the feedback to the broader AMSA community as well. So that's kind of one of the highlights. But as I mentioned, I will document everything that we came up with and share that with all of you, so that you have that for the future. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Liz. I think the exit survey is a fantastic idea, and look forward to that happening. Governance Committee. Sheila.
Hi, so we met earlier this week. I did submit a report for us, but still working on some of the onboarding stuff. We are also working on, and many thanks to Jill for her work in compiling executive session minutes, and that we do want to propose some changes to the written policy on executive session minutes and their dissemination. So we are working on that. We'll probably have it for the board either in February or in March. That's it.
Questions for Sheila? Any questions? Finance, Kristen.
Okay, so it shows the November and December reports are here. I'm just going to walk through the December because it also has a year-to-date month. So can I get a thumbs up when you can see my screen from someone? Thank you, everyone. Okay, so happy to note that we had very good results for November and December. We have some boxes highlighted here in yellow to point out some of the specific items to update, but we'll just start with the top line. Tuition came in favorable in December and year-to-date as well, year-to-date by $176,000. We did receive the latest update on the tuition numbers, and there was an increase in the amount of tuition being allocated to AMSA. So good news that we will see some additional revenue during the year until the next tuition statement comes out, which could change it, but hopefully for the better. Student program or grants and donations year to date is $40,000 over budget. Also good news, the school has done a phenomenal job applying for grants this year, and even beyond this $40,000, I think I tallied at least another $80,000 to $100,000 in grants that will be coming into the school for summer school and guidance and some other programs. And the finance committee, Leanna especially, is going to outline those so that we can have those when she gets some more details around when those will come in. So really great work by the team. Student programs continued over budget for the month of December and on a year-to-date under budget. There's a lot of timing going on here. So AP testing revenue was early and hit the budget in December compared to when those usually go out. And overall year-to-date, there's been less club participations and field trips, obviously due to COVID. As we look at the rest of the income, the only other item to note is transportation. So transportation income has been over budget for the year due to very full buses this year. They're at capacity, and so that's like a one-time item that we see, and so we're going to see that overage stay. So total income for the month of December was $105,000 better, and $245,000 cumulatively better for the year-to-date number. So good income, very strong. On the expense side, we have payroll and taxes and fringe benefits are slightly under budget, and that was due to members who were signed up for the benefit plans fewer than expected. The professional development budget is under at this point in the year. Again, we know that that's historically a little underutilized, and timing is that would happen perhaps later in the year. For other costs that are notable, athletic expenses, again, more timing, so we were slightly over budget this month. And transportation expenses, again, were down as a result of the student programs and field trips. Lease cam and taxes are down. The real estate taxes came in with a credit and are a lower bill than expected and budgeted. That's good news for us. And the CAM amounts so far have also been under budgeted. Those numbers I expect, as a lot of these expenses are timing related, and as we make changes to the building and start to work on construction, we might see some changes there. So for total expenses in the month, favorable by $66,000 for December, and year to date pretty close at $35,000 net of all the good favorable items and some unfavorable items there as well. So from a surplus perspective, for December we are $171,000 better, and year to date we are $280,000 better. And for the full year, again, we haven't done a true cut of the reforecast, but the budget was $138,000 favorable, and right now, with some changes associated with the loan when it went through, we're currently looking at a surplus of $203,000. And if the trend continues with the revenue and we hold on the tuition numbers, we should be even more favorable as we exit the year. Any questions on finance for the month and for the year-to-date numbers? No? Thank you.
Sounds like we're in good shape. Which is great to hear about making a big commitment.
We are. When we're looking forward to seeing the numbers for the building design, obviously, when they come through. We have a maximum there, but that's the next big financial review and analysis that we'll do, and we'll obviously publish those results to the board as well.
Thank you, Kristen, and Liana as well. Development report, Ben.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So we met this past month, and we got a great update from. Well, first we had the consultant from the capital campaign that's been helping us out there join the meeting, give us good feedback in terms of the progress that the team's been doing, and things to her report were on track and according to how we had planned originally when we engaged her. Great news. The capital campaign team has started to develop some great documents and some great leave behinds, including folders full of information, and we got to review those and provide our feedback. So I think that's also a good positive move forward. And I think there's a call out and a request that corporate engagement is probably something us here at the Board of Trustees can also help and support quite a bit. And so if everyone starts to think about, some of the areas they could, and the corporations they have contacts in, the capital campaign committee's putting together a little kind of training and kind of how to help us out, engage those and start to help them get funds coming into the school. Mike Finkel's been doing a great job pulling together a lot of the customer or the community-facing components, and we've also connected with the Soaring Eagles to make sure fonts and logos and things like that are all kind of aligned, and we look professional in our presentations to there. So a lot of great news, a lot of great progress from that team, and we continue to look to support them. So as we go forward, the more we can start thinking about ourselves and how we can help support that would be great. And any feedback or help you need around thinking about that, reach out to us at the development committee, and we can connect everybody with the capital campaign as well to make sure we're all aligned. So that's pretty much the update for this month.
Any questions for Ben or development committee? No questions. So we had nothing flagged during the meeting for further discussion. So we are on to meeting wrap up. And first thing we have is we had nothing from previous action, no action items from previous meetings. And Sarah, could you provide a summary of the action items from tonight's meeting?
I don't think there were any action items tonight. The only thing that I had that was actually going to happen is I'm going to put going to upload the Ellen's report on Board on Track right after the meeting. That was it.
So I have we have for a future meeting is for the counseling department, Kate Driver, in the April or May timeframe, and the board task force for the strategic planning meeting will be meeting before February.
One question. So I've received some information that Kate, I guess, has done. As Bella mentioned, she's put out a lot of information on this. She's had parent meetings and whatnot. Would it be acceptable if she pulled some of those information packets and things together and distributed that to all of you instead of having her come on an evening and present? Or do you really want her to present?
One thing that might be helpful, Ellen, just being mindful of everyone's time at night and how many hours you're already all pulling, is maybe send out the documents and then we could have sort of feedback to you of whether we have enough questions to ask Kate to come in after. I sort of like that way of moving forward when it comes to these things. Give the board the information, give us time to digest it, and then, if we have enough, then if you could invite Kate in. That's just sort of one way I like to proceed, rather just sort of I'm always mindful of how much time you folks put in already. So it's just a suggestion, something I've seen work well in the past. So
yeah, just to follow on to that, we could always provide her with any questions that we have, and if it's just something that she can provide either back to you or to us in writing, I think that also would be an opportunity for her not to have to come out to a meeting.
That sounds like I like that. It sounds like good next steps.
Okay, we'll do that. I think, everybody's at the edge. So I hate to ask more from, especially someone like Kate. I will ask her for that.
Okay, great. That one off there. And so, any special agenda items for the February meeting? So we already have a commitment from Peter Prohl for the DEI results that Ellen mentioned already in her report. Are there other special topics for February?
February or March, the executive session policy, I guess, was going to be on there.
Right. Yep. Look forward for feedback from governance on that. Good catch. Anything else? Hearing nothing else, is there any, so immediate effectiveness? Anything that we should continue doing, do better, stop doing?
Well, just one quick comment, and since Liz asked, we'll clarify. We were piloting the consent agenda this meeting. You noticed that. Governance had the report as part of that consent agenda. So for any of the other committees that want to try it for the next meeting, assuming you have enough time, because I know some committees meet too close to the board meeting, it might not make it to the packet, but that can help reduce the time we spend on committee reports. So you get to choose whether you want to spend more time on this meeting or do a little bit more work before the meeting.
Yeah, Raul Finance actually talked about this week too. I know we were one of the meeting committees that meet obviously right before the board meeting, and we have some new proposed dates so that we can potentially put the financials up there, because there's typically very little commentary. It'll give people more time to review the reports as well, and then bring questions to the meeting. So we're looking forward to doing some of that.
Awesome.
Other comments regarding meeting effectiveness? Any other business? Seeing no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, wait a minute, I heard so many people say that.
I'm gonna go with Mara and Liz.
Maura and Liz,
Okay.
that was amazing. Okay. So, Bella Gorman,
Yes.
Ben Hamill,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Mara Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
Yes.
Raul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
Zachary Oglesby. That is everything.
Yes. Motion is unanimous. Have a great evening. Thank you, everybody.